But I'm hoping that at some point down the line we'll get to be together on set in a different dynamic, not as Ellie and Joel. But it's sad to, like, the idea that we might never be Ellie and Joel again is, like, upsetting.
The moment the announcement dropped, silence fell across social media feeds where Bella Ramsey had once been a trending topic. HBO had spoken. The Last of Us was not getting a third season. No teaser, no cliffhanger, no final send-off. Just a quiet, clinical statement confirming what many already suspected: the show was over. And at the center of this quiet collapse stood Bella Ramsey, devastated, exposed, and forced to reckon with a brutal truth she had avoided for far too long. Bella didn't post immediately after the news broke. For someone known to take to Instagram or Twitter with bold statements and cryptic captions, the silence said more than any photo ever could. This wasn't just the end of a show, it was the end of her moment. The project that had catapulted her from supporting character to center stage had officially ended. Not with fanfare, but with a collective shrug. And fans were quick to assign blame. Spoiler alert, it wasn't the writing, the network, or the budget, it was her.
Like most people, I liked the first season. I thought they did a great job. Season 2, I was skeptical on them not recasting Ellie and keeping Bella Ramsey as Ellie because it's supposed to take place 5 years into the future, but obviously Bella Ramsey in real life was not going to age that much in, the 2 years it took between seasons. So in the show, Ellie still looks exactly the same, but is supposed to be 5 years older. Also, Ellie still acts exactly the same. For some reason, they made the decision for The Last of Us Season 2 to make Ellie dumb, to the point where she even says that she's stupid. Why?
From the beginning, Bella's casting as Ellie was controversial. Fans of the original video game series had envisioned a different face, a different presence, a different energy entirely, but HBO, determined to make a statement, doubled down. They insisted Bella was perfect, fresh, and transformative, and in the early stages that narrative held. But as the episodes aired, as the story played out on screen, it became obvious to the viewing audience that something wasn't clicking. The magic, the soul, the spark of Ellie, it wasn't there. Bella's portrayal of Ellie always felt like a performance rather than a transformation, and when fans voiced their concern, she didn't listen. Instead, she responded with defiance, calling criticism outdated and irrelevant. She leaned into controversy instead of connection. Interviews turned into lectures. Press tours felt like debates, and the viewers who once wanted to root for her began tuning out. Slowly at first, then all at once.
I'm sorry. That was acting. That's what that was. I don't really care what happens with this movie. I really hope her career is pretty much over. I'd be thrilled to see that. I can't imagine. I mean, Chris
had to not like each other for a bit.
You had to not like me, which
True.
came easy.
By the time season 2 aired, viewership numbers had taken a nosedive. HBO, usually quick to celebrate milestones and record-breaking premieres, stayed uncharacteristically quiet. Reports began surfacing that executives were concerned about the show's direction. Internally, the warning signs were there. Fan engagement was down, merchandise was underperforming, and the show's social media accounts were struggling to generate buzz. But still, Bella pressed forward, unaware or unwilling to admit that the walls were closing in. Then came the parodies. The Simpsons, South Park, Family Guy. One by one, each show took a swing at Bella's version of Ellie, painting her as a caricature, awkward, preachy, and completely disconnected from the character's original identity. These jokes didn't just go viral, they hit a nerve, because they tapped into what so many fans were feeling but hadn't fully articulated. This wasn't the Ellie they remembered. This wasn't even Ellie at all.
Show is finally speaking out about its failure. The Last of Us creator Craig Mazin admits season 2 was a finale, drew over 50% less than the finale of season 1. You lost.
Bella tried to weather the storm. She laughed off the jokes, shared filtered selfies, and posted vague affirmations about staying true to herself. But it wasn't enough. The trust was broken, and when the pressure mounted, Bella cracked. A leaked video surfaced from behind the scenes. Bella alone in her trailer, visibly emotional, shaking her head and holding back tears. The clip spread like wildfire. The internet dissected every frame. And for the first time, fans saw what had been building beneath the surface: regret. Now with HBO officially pulling the plug, Bella is left sitting in the ruins of a project that was supposed to define her career. Her latest posts are filled with nostalgia, throwback photos from set, old cast interviews, and sentimental captions that read more like goodbye notes than celebrations. In one particularly telling Instagram story, Bella shared a clip of herself walking through the now empty soundstage, where much of The Last of Us was filmed. The caption simply read, "Thank you for the memories." It was the kind of soft, poetic farewell usually reserved for projects that end on good terms. But fans weren't buying it.
Up your impression at all, or is it pretty much the same?
Well, the noise is the same. I've not got any more noises in my back. The new infected are pretty terrifying. They're so smart, and they haven't really got a noise. That's the whole point of them. They're silent and terrifying.
Ooh, give us a little silent and terrifying.
Yes, maybe we can prop it open with something and you can slide. Whoa! Oh my god, what? Is it getting bigger? Stop it. No, seriously, what's with that? It's fine, Joel. Does it hurt? Joel, please, you're making me self-conscious. I'm sorry, it's just a little bit startling. Normal head, Joel, can we just get back to the door thing? It's planetary. Leave it. It's gonna have its own area code soon.
The replies were swift and ruthless. "We remember the version of Ellie you tried to give us, and we're glad it's over," wrote one commenter. Another added, "Maybe next time, listen to the fans instead of lecturing them." The tone wasn't angry, it was tired. Tired of being ignored, tired of watching something beloved get rebranded for the sake of ego, tired of waiting for a version of the show that never materialized. What makes this situation even more painful for Bella is the reality that her co-stars are moving on. Upward and onward. Pedro Pascal, who played Joel, has booked multiple high-profile roles since the show's finale. Other supporting cast members have landed film deals and production opportunities, but Bella? She's been largely absent from casting announcements. Projects she was once attached to have gone quiet, and her once busy press schedule is now filled with reruns and reshares. She's not the future face of HBO anymore. She's a chapter the network is trying to close quietly. Insiders have revealed that season 3 was in discussion for months, but no one could agree on the direction. One group wanted to recast Ellie, another wanted to shift focus entirely away from her character, and Bella's own behavior, both on and off set, became a sticking point. Producers reportedly expressed concern about her public image, her response to criticism, and her ability to carry the weight of a lead role under pressure. Ultimately, it wasn't just the fans who lost confidence. The studio did too. As news of the cancellation settles in, Bella's team is scrambling to control the narrative. Leaked press materials suggest an upcoming personal reflection interview where Bella will talk about growth, lessons, and moving forward. But fans already know how this script ends. The same audience that once gave her a chance has already turned the page. They're not interested in reflections, they want results. And Bella hasn't delivered. The irony of it all, Bella Ramsey had everything she needed to succeed: a major platform, a beloved character, an eager audience. But instead of embracing the legacy of Ellie, she tried to rewrite it. Instead of connecting with fans, she challenged them. And instead of letting the work speak for itself, she spoke over it. Now with the series canceled and the door firmly closed, she's left to reflect on what could have been. Hollywood rarely offers second chances in franchises this big. When you lose the fan base, the network, and the story all in one swing, it's hard to imagine a comeback. And for Bella, who bet everything on The Last of Us, the cancellation isn't just a career hiccup. It's a defining moment, one that will follow her into every audition, every interview, and every project that comes next. Because no matter how many ways she tries to spin it, the truth remains. The show didn't just end, it ended under her watch. And for the fans who had waited years to see Ellie come to life on screen, that's not something they'll forget. So as the sets are dismantled, the scripts are shelved, and the studio moves on to its next big title, Bella is left holding on to memories that should have been milestones. But instead, they're reminders of a story that never reached its potential, and a performance that never truly became its character. As Bella Ramsey retreated from the public eye, the ripple effects of The Last of Us cancellation continue to echo far beyond the headlines. In industry circles, the silence surrounding her name spoke volumes. Production teams that once scrambled to attach Bella to projects now barely brought her up in meetings. Casting directors, wary of her polarizing image, quietly passed her over in favor of newer, safer talent. The wave of enthusiasm that once surrounded her career had all but dried up. Behind the scenes, Bella's team was scrambling to recover. According to sources close to her management, there were urgent efforts to rebrand her image. Strategy decks were built. PR advisors pitched redemption arcs. There was talk of launching a podcast, signing onto an indie film, or even publishing a book of personal reflections. But every idea ran into the same problem. There was no demand. Interest had cooled. The audience, once curious, now simply wasn't paying attention. The more her team tried to spin the story, the more obvious it became. The spark was gone, and Bella felt it. Friends close to her shared that she had grown noticeably more withdrawn since the cancellation. Once known for being outspoken, her interactions had become cautious, brief, and rehearsed. At recent industry mixers and charity events, she showed up late. Your board or did our bar press coverage altogether. The weight of disappointment was written all over her expression. Eyes downcast, posture heavy, the energy of someone who had been told no one too many times. The saddest part was that she hadn't just lost a show, she'd lost the one role that could have cemented her in the conversation for years. Ellie wasn't just another character, she was the beating heart of one of the most critically acclaimed stories in gaming history. The fans were invested, the pressure was high, and when Bella fumbled the opportunity, she wasn't just criticized, she was rejected. Not by critics alone, but by the very people who had built The Last of Us into a phenomenon. Adding insult to injury, fan campaigns began picking up steam, calling for a faithful reboot of the series, with new casting. One movement even proposed that the franchise return to its roots and remake the show from scratch, ignoring seasons 1 and 2 altogether. These petitions weren't niche either. They gained hundreds of thousands of signatures. And while Bella's name was never explicitly mentioned in them, the message was loud and clear. They wanted Ellie, but not her version. In digital spaces, fan forums grew bolder. The subreddit dedicated to The Last of Us began pinning threads discussing how the show lost its emotional weight after season 1. TikTok creators posted comparisons of in-game Ellie versus the TV adaptation. YouTube essays dissected each of Bella's scenes, highlighting what they called disconnects, tonal missteps, and missed emotional beats. It wasn't just criticism anymore. It had evolved into cultural rejection. And in a heartbreaking twist, one of the final nail in the coffin moments came when Neil Druckmann, the original creator of the game, spoke at a gaming convention and was asked about the future of the franchise. Instead of acknowledging the TV adaptation, he shifted the focus entirely back to the games, speaking about legacy, loyalty to the fans, and preserving character authenticity. He never said Bella's name. He didn't have to. Bella's remaining supporters tried to defend her, insisting that she gave the role her all and that the problem wasn't her acting, but the writing. But the defense was too little, too late, because this wasn't about effort. It was about connection. As the reality of her situation sank in, Bella began to realize that she wasn't just mourning the loss of a job, she was mourning the loss of what should have been a defining era in her career. This role was supposed to open doors. It was supposed to lead to awards, prestige, and legacy. Instead, it became a cautionary tale, a conversation stopper, something she would be asked about not because it succeeded, but because it failed. Her public appearances began to shrink. Where she was once on magazine covers and headlining panels, she now sat quietly in the back rows. Even fashion brands and photo campaigns that previously featured her as a symbol of new-gen Hollywood began selecting others. The industry that once saw her as a trailblazer now saw her as a risk, not because she was outspoken, but because she had become a symbol of how fast public perception could change when the audience feels unheard. In a rare recorded interview weeks after the cancellation, Bella's demeanor was noticeably muted. She gave short answers, avoided direct eye contact, and looked uncomfortable. When asked directly about the show's end, her voice cracked slightly. I wish people had seen what we were trying to do, she said, but the phrasing betrayed the truth. Trying wasn't enough. Hollywood doesn't run on effort, it runs on execution. And while Bella may have had noble intentions, the delivery simply didn't land. Not with the fans, not with the press, and not with the network that had once pinned its hopes on her. The cancellation of The Last of Us wasn't just the end of a show. It was the end of Bella Ramsey's run as a leading figure in one of the most ambitious TV adaptations in recent memory. It marked a reset for HBO, a lesson for casting directors, and a wake-up call for young actors entering major franchises. You can't just occupy the role, you have to honor it. And when you don't, the audience walks away. Bella didn't just lose Ellie, she lost the momentum that had carried her into the spotlight. And now, as that spotlight moves on to someone else, she's left trying to make sense of what could have been.